indie game maker competition, and this won first place in the RPG category. It's a game about villains that act as villains just so they can go into game worlds bordering heroes, and so there are cameramen on the side taking videos of all of it to make use as game cinematic footage. And you can see there's some parody characters like Shefirov and Master Chef. And it was great. It was received so well, we actually went to develop it, or rather I developed it, into a full game and went on Steam later on. Some of these games, unfortunately for various reasons, they don't get released, but I still put a lot of love and care into all the characters I create. So this is a game Archetype made on Unity, and this is a game where you go to a world, dungeoning, and everyone in there uses keyboards, because in the game you use a keyboard to fight. So these are some of the characters. Unfortunately, didn't see the light of day, but, you know, maybe I'll use them again one day. And here is Start My Journey. This is also a sci-fi fantasy parody on things, and I also made a lot of art for this. In the end, didn't come out, but I like them all the same. So, a lot of my teenage years as well, I spent freelancing for other game companies. I was in the game maker community, the RPG maker community, the Unity community, and I had an art shop. And there were so many people who wanted to make games, you know, people just like you guys, and they just needed art. So I drew for a lot of these people. They commissioned me and I made characters for each of their games. And I think their games are out there right now somewhere. RPG Maker Network, you know, Game Dev Market. And I'm very proud to see all of them have their life and story and moving on to different places. Aside from that, here's some fan art, just in case some of you guys have seen some of this out there. You know. Okay. Well, through the years, I've tried many game engines. I've tried Unity, like I said, Game Maker, Construct, RPG Maker for the most part. That's actually quite a lot. But I came to a realization after doing this for years and years. I realized that even though everybody has so many tools to make good games, at one point, a lot of the games started coming out the same. Everyone was kind of course, copying the things that they loved. But in the end, everyone kind of did something that was so similar, it all melded together in this very vague, not memorable mess. And it was actually very sad, because I saw a lot of these game developers that I know, that I made friends with, and I know how hard they worked. And in the end, the game that they made wasn't seen by people, and the stories that they wrote weren't read by people, and all of the effort was gone to waste. So, I started to diagnose it and figure out what makes characters important. So, why are characters important? It's because they are the face of your game. And people recognize a game by what characters they have, most of all, more than anything. But in order to convince you guys, I had to find a little bit of data, right? Some metrics. So I had to compare two games that are similar in every other way, but one of them approaches characters differently from the other. For this one, I chose Valorant and Counter-Strike. You guys play this game? Yeah. Alright. So I like these games. I like both these games, so this is not a biased thing or anything. But we clearly know that one game approaches characters very, very differently from the other game. And we can see it from the metrics. So if you look online, you see Counter-Strike being a brick house of a game, lasted tens of years. It's gone on for such a long time, the yellow. But then Valorant came out of nowhere, and within a year, eclipsed Counter-Strike. And well, it's astounding. This could be biased, of course, because you know there's many different parts of the game, and maybe some of the parts of Valorant could be the reason why it's more popular. So I had to search something else, something more narrowed down. What is a metric that characters, like, only involve characters, right? And I decided to pick fan art, user-created content. Because you know, when people are spending time out of their busy day to make things about your game, you know that the things that you made in the game is sinking into their mind. They're remembering your characters and the emotions you made them feel. So you got stuff like Twitch, but also Pixiv, which is fan art, and you got Archive of Our Own, which is fan fiction. And all of this kind of shows that, like, you know, Valorant eclipses Counter-Strike by a far mile. So we kind of know from this that characters play a pretty big part in how people remember games. So, what makes good characters? Right? I think anyone can answer this, you know? Can I get some answers from you, handsome man? What makes a good character? Any answer, come on.
Emotion.
Emotion, very nice. What about you, good sir? Costume? Yes, okay, good answer as well. How about one from the back? Anybody can shout? Anyone? What? Unique? That's right. Okay, so there's a lot of different answers we can get about what makes a good character. Some of them, of course, we see character design, costume, story, personality, romance options. But, even if we have all this, do we have the answer? Right now, this seems kind of obvious to us. We take all of this, let's make a good character right now. So, Lucy, I'm back. There we go. Okay, so let's say I get everything done, right? Got a very sexy anime girl as my main character. Give her good story, I get the good voice actor or anything, romance rules, everything. If you look at this now, just this character, can you say for sure that this is a memorable, interesting character? 100% sure?
Mm-hmm.
Most of you right now are going, I guess? I don't know. That's actually the correct answer because we don't actually know. We'll get back to this character in a bit. I'm going to put it to the side. And I'm going to talk about one of the key points about what makes a character interesting. The goal of making characters interesting is remembrance. Excuse me. Thank you. Oh, it's me! Everybody knows this, right? You know this character, right? So, if your characters are remembered, they're a good character. And if they're forgotten, then they're bad characters, right? Or rather the other way around, bad characters are forgotten and good characters are remembered. So you should do everything in your power to make sure that your characters can be remembered. I went too far. Okay, so here, have you ever heard the saying that a movie that is 5 upon 10 is the worst a movie can be? It's not good enough to talk about, but it's also not bad enough to laugh about. That saying is kind of true for games as well, because that saying basically means that, if you just have a feeling of a game, once you come out with some kind of entertainment, it just makes you feel like, it's okay. That is the worst a game can be, because people are just going to forget it, If it's good, of course, people rave about it, talk about it everywhere, but if it's bad, people, sometimes they'll talk bad about it on social media, but they're still talking about it, but they still remember, They debate about it online, or this character wasn't that bad, But all of this is still good. The point is that they're still remembered, one way or another. And you want to avoid that level of remembrance where they're not remembered at all. So, right, so all of us want to do things correctly. Want to create perfect characters, make them all 10 upon 10, make sure that you do nothing wrong, the best art, the best everything, Dark Souls story, everything must be the best, everything must be perfect, I have to find the best artist that I can contact to do the best art. And I understand it. In game development, we get lost in all of this all the time, right? We're so perfectionist. But all of this kind of comes to a bad habit where in trying to make everything perfect, we lose sight of how everything looks on the surface to the player. So, from here, I'm going to share what the secret to making good characters is. So, drum roll please. The secret is contrast. Contrast means characters that are distinct and different from each other. See, everything is only as good as what you compare them to. If you have a bad character, then of course any character that's not bad are good characters. But if you take away the bad character, right, then these two characters, you're not very sure how they're different. Just to you, they're like, oh, they're both good, they're both normal. And then that's where you lose the chance to leave an impression on your players. So once we bring back that main character that we made earlier on, let's make a whole cast doing the same exercise that we think is correct, right? We're doing all the perfect steps. We're giving them great art, we're giving them super deep story, we're giving them the best of everything. They're all perfect, all wonderful. When you look at this, and let's say I'm introducing this game to you right now and you leave this hall, will you remember any one of these characters individually? Maybe you'll remember the whole game as like, oh, this is the game with all the sexy girls. But will you remember them like each of them? Chances are probably not, because it's just not that easy when all of them are so similar in the level of perfection that they've reached. If you make your characters different, right? Where some of them has nice silhouettes, different silhouettes, some are big, some are small, some are smart, some are stupid, some are pure, some are complex, some are morally grey, and some are wonderful in whatever ways. This makes it infinitely more easier for people to remember each of your characters. And then from there, they're going to do everything they want in their free time. They're going to go make fan art. It's like, oh, they're going to make the Yaoi fan art. They're going to make this relationship, ship the characters together. All kinds of things. The point is that they're remembered. They're memorized. So what does this mean for all of you game devs? You have to create contrast. Do whatever it takes. In characters, there's so many different layers and many methods that you can approach creating contrast. And as much as possible, whatever you can do, whatever you can do well, do as many as you can, because you can't afford to do only half the work and expect it to have a good result. Every single thing, as many ways as you can make your characters as distinguished as possible, you want to do it. If it's colors, if it's weapons, if it's races, if it's personality, if it's habits, if it's animations, do it all, as much as you can. If you can do it all well, you can make characters that people easily remember. You're going to look at your game at a glance, they play within the first 10 minutes, they already remember all your characters, and you're going to bring it back with them even when they're not playing your game, and they're going to just enjoy the memories of your characters in their fantasy world. But we don't always have access to all the resources that we want. We aren't always able to keep up with the technique, design skills, or the art skills, or the music skills, or the voice skills. So, try to do what you can. Do what you're good at. It's okay to not be good at art if you have simple designs, but even in the simple designs, you make them very distinct. You know? Undertale is very good at that. Distinguishes characters with voice, with personality, quirks, and they are all very memorable characters. Now, great at story writing, then it's okay to make the characters very simple. Make them very simple, very pure, and they're still very lovable. Kirby is a good example. Everyone remembers Kirby characters. Even though they're not very complex, they're still so distinguished from each other, everyone remembers. Some of these games here are full of, or made by studios that leverage their strengths. They chose things that they're good at writing or good at doing, and they made them all different in each of their own ways. It's not just AAA games, even indie games as well. And each of these games have cemented themselves as legendary games that people remember, and they talk about in all the different forums and YouTube videos and whatnot. So the key, right, the goal, is that no matter what kind of developer you are, all of us here are different. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. But if we all continue to work hard, if we all continue to leverage our strengths, do what we do best, all of us can still reach the same goal. So I want all the developers here to take this away. Never stop working hard, never stop creating, never stop experimenting, never stop trying new things, never stop doing your best. And most of all, create contrast. Do whatever it takes. Thank you, everybody.